Okay, this is the indoor unit, so let's see what's in the box. Alright, so when you open the box, you get this pattern which shows you how to put it up on the internal wall. You get some pieces and parts. It looks like some batteries, some screws, some wall inserts, stuff like that. You get an electrical cable, which I think that's the signal cable that carries the signals from the indoor unit to the outdoor unit. You get some rubber feet. These go underneath your outdoor unit. There's also a remote control in there. You get a drain line. This drains the moisture from your indoor unit to the outside. There's a remote control mount right there, so you can mount it on the wall somewhere. So let's take this indoor unit out. Look at it. All right. The indoor unit's packed pretty good in styrofoam. All right, so there's the indoor unit. Now on the bottom of the indoor unit, you'll see there's this metal bracket, all right? That metal bracket lines up with the pattern on this piece of cardboard. So this bracket is outlined on the piece of cardboard. You put that piece of cardboard, let me set this down. Put that piece of cardboard up on your wall, and I've already lined it out. I've already done this. But you use the cardboard to figure out where your mounting screws are going to go. So first step, you got to take this metal mounting bracket off the back of the unit. So right here, there's some little tabs. You got to push that tab in, and the unit or the mounting bracket will come right out. But be careful, don't break that tab. If you break it, you're never going to hold the unit on the wall right. So gently push that plastic tab, and this metal piece will just lift up and come right out. And then you put this on the wall. So let's go do that. Also, let me show you this. So the top of this mounting bracket looks like that, okay? Sort of get an angle look at it. It slips up underneath this lip right here on both sides. So you take it and you slide it up underneath this. There's one on that side, one on that side, and then when you put it on the wall and it snaps in place, it just snaps back down underneath these little tabs right there. So that's how you mount that. So let's put this on the wall. So what you do is you figure out where you want to mount it on your wall, and then you put this pattern up and you make holes in the wall so that you can mount this pattern. But first you got to find your studs. So right here I've got a Craftsman stud finder. So I'm going to turn it on somewhere where I know there's not a stud. And I didn't know there was not a stud here to start with. I sort of had to do trial and error to figure it out. But you put it on there. Once it quits beeping, it zeroes out. There's a green light on it, just like that. You slide it across the wall, and you hear it beep. That means it found a stud. So I've already marked my studs. I've got one there, and I've got one right here, all right? So after I find my studs, you take this, and you put it up on the wall, and then you take a level and put right above it, and you make sure it's level. So there's mounting holes. I've already put some in the wall, but there's mounting holes that are shown on this pattern. So you take your hole punch, you make a hole in the wall wherever you want to put your screws. You also put a hole in the wall right over here for your circular hole that your pipes are going to go through. So you mark all your holes in the wall, and then you take the pattern down and you actually drill the holes in the wall so that your screws can go in that are going to support your indoor unit. So let's do that right now. So I'm putting these little things in, which are real simple. You can tap them in with a hammer or even the end of a screwdriver. Then you drill them into the wall real gently. And I'm using a hammer drill, which you should not use. All right. All right, these top holes line up with a stud, so I'm actually going to use a couple of wood screws to secure those in. I'm going to put 2 more wood screws in just to be on the safe side in my studs. So here's something interesting I found when I opened it up. There's actually black hair in several places inside this. So I guess in addition to the air condition, I got hair from China. All right, when you drill a hole with this, it's best to hold it with 2 hands just so that you stabilize it. It's hard to hold a drill like this and drill. You really need a drill that has an external handle on it. So I've got the pilot hole drilled through the bricks. I've used the hole saw to drill through the sheetrock and the OSB, which is the particle board. Now I'm going to go outside and drill this way through the brick wall outside since I've got a pilot hole. Okay, so I need a piece of pipe to go through this hole. What I've got is this 3-inch sewer pipe. So the hole saw, the 3-inch hole saw, makes a hole that's exactly 3 inches. The sewer pipe has a 3-inch internal diameter, so it won't go through there. It's too big to go through the hole. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so I took this pipe, I cut a 9.5-inch section, which is the distance from the inside of the drywall to the outside of the bricks plus 1/2 inch. So I want it to stick out the bricks by 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is take this pipe, cut a small section out, and then fold it together so when I put it through the wall and I release it, it'll expand to fill that gap, so it'll be the right size to go through the hole. Then I'll spray spray foam around it to fill in the cavity. So let's anchor this down with some clamps. I got my Dremel plugged up, safety glasses, and let's cut it. Okay, so that's finished. So now what I'm going to do is push the pipe through the hole, fold it together to make it small enough to go through, and then release it once I get it all the way through and I get the pipes put through it. And if I have to, I can fold it in like that if necessary. I don't think that'll be necessary. Let's take a look and see if it'll fit. Okay, so let's see. So, oh wow, it's almost a perfect fit. So it goes straight through just like that. And then I'll put some expanding foam inside around it. Okay, that's done. So you notice I'm wearing a mask. That's one of the things nobody really tells you about. All these YouTube videos you watch on people who do this stuff themselves, they don't tell you that all the dust that you cut out of that brick, you breathe it in, and you can't breathe that in. So luckily my neighbor had an old COVID mask they gave me. I put that on and that was perfect. It protected me while I drilled that hole. Another thing is, when you drill the hole from the inside, if you're drilling against brick, you're going to hit the brick and then you're going to have to stop and come outside and drill inside. Well, when you drill from both sides, you're never going to meet up exactly perfect. You're always going to have to adjust a little bit. So when I finished drilling it out, the hole saw was exactly the thickness of the brick. So it actually was a little bit less than the thickness by about that much. It wouldn't go all the way through. So I had to take a chisel and sort of chisel out the hole. But now I've got my pipe here, so let's fold the pipe together, push it through. Okay, so the pipe is in. I had to fold it in on itself a little bit. And also it does not go all the way through the sheetrock, so I'm gonna have to go inside and cut the sheetrock a little bit. But here's one of the things you gotta think about if you're doing this by yourself. The pipe coming from inside to outside needs to be angled down just a little bit so that moisture that builds up inside will drain out. You don't want it to drain down inside your wall. So it's hard to see this unless you look at it from the side. My pipe's actually angled down just a little bit. So anyhow, that's exactly what I needed. So now I've got a smooth surface to run my copper pipes and my drain line through. Okay, I'm back inside. So here's what I mean when I said the holes didn't exactly match up. You notice the pipe does not exactly match the hole that I originally cut. So what I'm gonna have to do is trim that hole a little bit around there so that the pipe will come through. So do that, and it won't be too hard to do. It's actually pretty easy. Okay, let's pull this through. I want it exactly flush with the wall, slightly angled downward. That's it, perfect. All right, that's where it needs to be. Okay, so now I'm going to hook the wiring harness up to the inside unit that goes on the wall. All right, so to pull this top piece up, you got to snap it out and then give it a firm push upwards, not too hard, real gently. All right, let's pull this down here. Let's see if I can get you guys a little bit closer over here. All right, this panel has to come out. So there's one screw that holds this panel in, right there. Take that screw out, lift up gently on the panel, it comes right out. All right, so there's a wiring diagram on here, but you're really not gonna need that. So let's look at the wire. So the wire that comes with this, or the cable that comes with this, has 4 wires. Each wire has a number on it. You've got a 1, yellow's 1, white's a 2, black is a 3, and then you have green, which is a 4. So if you look inside here, you've got a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. All right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to feed the wire through the bottom of this unit and bring it up through this cavity. All right, so let's try and do that. There we go. Just be careful, these wires can snag on stuff inside. Or you may want to even wrap this in electrical wire before you bring it up through there. All right, so I'm going to pull plenty of wire out. Let me show you something now. So inside here, there's actually a strain gauge bar right here. That's what this is. So the wire goes underneath that. That's what holds it tight. That's one thing I have not seen anybody who's done a YouTube install video show, that there's actually a piece of plastic right here you can lift up, and you put your cable underneath it, and it holds your cable tight. So that's called a strain relief. That keeps the that keeps you from pulling your cable loose and ripping these connections. All right. Okay, let's connect the wires. There. So if you get them on there and you can't read what number you put on each one, just grab the other end of the cable, because it also has the number tags on there. See, each one of these cables has that little slider piece. That's got a number on there. So green is 4, black is 3, white is 2, yellow is 1. Okay, so now I'm going to put my strain relief bar back on here. And it's not going to really force these wires down very strongly. It just sort of holds them in position. The main reason for this is if you tend to put a lot of pressure on the cable, this will hold the wires in place. This makes sure that the wires are not under any great strain. All right, I'm going to double check my block connections to the terminal block. And I'm going to double check the other side too, because I noticed one of them was loose. All right, so now the strain relief is in place. It's screwed down. I got all my wires screwed in place, and I double checked that side also. All right, so let's put the cover back on. It doesn't want to go in. There we go. So you shouldn't have to force any of this. Everything is designed to go in without any really heavy force on it. All right. So you notice, even though I had the cable hooked in here, when I put this cover plate back on, it just went on really easy. All right. So now let's put the top back on. So grab both sides, very gently pull it, and you're going to hear it snap on both sides. Push it down, it's back in place. All right, so let's see what this looks like from the back side. All right, let's set it up. So on the back side, you've got your drain line right here, you got your copper lines right here, and you got your cable. So what I'm going to do is connect these three together with some tape to make sure that they stay in place and they don't get pulled apart while I'm trying to put them through the wall, through the hole in the wall. All right, let's go ahead and do one more. Actually, I'm not going to do one more because the wall is only about 9.5 inches from the unit. So let's see how far that is. So it's about to the edge of this tape right there, okay? So once I get to the outside wall from here, these lines are going to bend downwards. So that's as far as I need to go with my Gorilla Tape. The whole point is just to hold these together so that when I'm trying to push them through the wall, they don't spread off and try and get away from each other. All right, so now let's put the unit on the wall. Okay, so let's feed this cable through here first, just like that, all the way. Take out all the slack. All right, just like that. Now, I'm going to lift the unit up and I'm going to feed these pipes through the hole. Hopefully, easily. Put the top of the unit on these pegs that are sticking out. Snap it in place. All right. Sounds like it's snapped. Yep, feels like it's solid. All right. There you go. So the indoor unit's mounted. Now I got to go work on the outside. Okay, so let's see what comes in the box with the outside unit. First off, when you unpack this, unpack it really easy because your copper lines are in here and you don't want to damage those. So I've got a small copper line. Set it right there. I've got a thicker copper line. I'm going to set it there also. I've got this bag of stuff. So let's see what's in there. So I've got a drain line. I've got this round tube, which I'm guessing is what's supposed to go through the wall. I've got a piece of insulation. I have this thing which goes on the wall behind the unit. So let me show you what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in that hole before I run all my lines through. And I'm going to seal it from the back side with some of the expanding foam. All right, you've got this, which is plasticine. I don't really know what that's for yet. Then you've got a roll of a roll of tape. So I'm going to use some of this tape to tape all my lines together. Okay, this piece of gutter pipe is going to go against the wall, so I've marked it and I'm going to cut a hole in it so that the air conditioning lines that come out of the wall to the outside of the house go in this pipe and to the ground. So this pipe is going to shield them from view and it's going to help insulate them. So right now I'm going to cut a hole in it. I think the Dremel hopefully will be the best way to do that. When you're doing projects like this, sometimes you just got to get creative. Since I'm going to pull my copper pipes with their insulation through this piece of gutter ducting, and it has sharp edges, what I'm doing is putting Gorilla Tape on it to smooth the edges out. So it's real easy to do, but Sort of a pain to do it, but you know, it certainly makes the copper pipe slide through here easier. So what I do is I just take the duct tape and line the edges. That gives a smooth edge for it to slide through. So I go all the way around and do that. So I ran the copper lines for the Freon and the return through this gutter pipe I bought, which is now against the wall. And that was difficult to do. I don't know that I'd recommend anyone do that. And here's why. It's hard to get all three of these lines through there. You have the Freon line, the return, you got the power cord, and you have that drain line, which is the moisture drain line for the indoor unit. They come through that hole, then they have to come down through the gutter pipe. And there's barely enough room, and it was just difficult to get it put on there. You can actually buy a channel that you put on your wall, and you run your pipes through the channel, and then you can put a cover on the channel when you're finished installing your unit. I didn't buy that because that channel was $190. And I said, you know, I really don't need that. This piece of gutter pipe was like 20 bucks, and it worked fine. I had to cut a hole in it up there for the pipes to go into, but the pipes run down through the gutter pipe, come out the side, and since my unit's gonna be sitting right here where my ladder is, it'll cover up the bottom of that pipe. I had an elbow I bought, which is right there, that I was gonna put on the bottom of that pipe. And I'm not gonna do it because it would require me to pull that elbow along this length of pipe until I could connect it over there. It would require me to bend my pipe at an odd angle, which I don't wanna do. So anyhow, the copper lines are run through the pipe, they're in place. So what I need to do now is seal the hole. So I've got some of this great stuff gap sealer, which works great. And by the way, this stuff will not come off, so don't get it on your skin. So what I'm gonna do is spray this up into the hole to make a nice seal. Don't spray too much because it'll expand. This stuff expands a lot, and you don't want it to expand up into your unit. Now, if you wait and just watch that for about 10 minutes, it's going to triple its size at least. So when you spray it into your pipe, don't go more than about 3 inches in, because if you do, it's going to expand inward, and it could expand into your indoor unit. Okay, I said that foam would expand to 3 times its normal size, so look at it now. So I think it actually expanded more than 3 times, but I'm going to have to cut some of it away. So here's a few more of the hidden costs of doing a project like this. You need your unit to sit level on the ground. And I went to buy a pad. You see this pad right here under my air conditioning unit? So I went to buy a pad like that from a local air conditioning supply. They would not sell it to me because I'm not a licensed air conditioning installer. They said go to the hardware store and buy a couple of these cinder blocks. I don't know if these are cinder blocks, they're concrete blocks. Put on the ground, but they were careful to tell me, make sure that your unit's level. So what I did is put these blocks on the ground where I wanted it installed, and I took some of this pink spray paint that I just happened to have on hand, and I outlined around the brick, like you can see right here. I hope you can see it. And so I'm having to dig the grass out. Let me move this, you can see better. I'm digging the grass out right there underneath it so that this block is level. So once I dig the grass out, let me put the block back in place. I put the level on the block, and you can see it's still uphill that direction a little bit. This end is uphill, so what I've got to do is dig out that end some more. So to make a long story short, you need some way to mount it, something to set it on, so that's another hidden cost. It's going to take some time to get it just right, but you're better off with it being level because it's going to vibrate and try and move around some, and if there's any way for it to go downhill, then it's going to vibrate downhill. You're going to wake up one day and your unit's going to be flopped over in the grass. Okay, let's dig this out a little bit more. So the end closest to the house is what's a little bit high. All right, put the brick back in place, stand on it to make sure it's compacted good. Put the level on it, and it is it's actually a little bit higher on this end than it is on that end, which is fine. If it's going to vibrate anyway, I want it to vibrate back towards the house. So this one's good. Now to dig out the other one. Okay, I got the other one put in, and it's level. So you also have to make sure that they're level like this, which they are. So it looks good, level both ways. Let's check the front. Yep, it's a little bit higher over here, but that's okay. If it's going to vibrate anyway, it's going to come this way and not that way. All right, time to put it in place. There we go. So you notice I put it slightly to the rear of these blocks. It's closer to the rear of the block than it is the front of the block. That's because the ground slopes down this way, and I don't want it to vibrate these and compact the soil and end up falling off. So there it is. All right, I'm going to put the rubber feet under it, hook up the copper lines. Next, take these panels off the side of your unit. Don't lose your screws. Okay, I'm going to pull the caps out of both these, and be really careful when you do this. The caps should come out, but when they come out, if any of these plastic ridges break off, just check and make sure there's nothing up inside either one of these. Then take the caps off your unit. My caps were on pretty tight. I had to get a pair of pliers to loosen them up. All right, I've got a little bit of Loctite, and I'm going to put a very small amount on each one. I'm going to do the bottom first. And this Loctite, by the way, is blue. So that's the type of Loctite you want for air conditioning applications. Just a little bit. You don't have to put a huge amount, and I actually put too much on there. All right. Make sure you don't cross thread this and that you get it on just right. Just be careful and take your time. That's all you got to do. All right, put a little Loctite on the top one. You know, again, I put too much on there. All right. Pull that one into place. And you don't want to use pliers. Tighten this down by hand because you're going to have to torque it with a torque wrench when we're done. Okay, so it's time to do the top, and according to the manual, the top line is 3/8 of an inch, and it's supposed to be 31 to 35 Newton meters. All right, so you hear that click? That click means it's torqued down properly. All right, so those lines are hooked up. Now let's do the electric connections. So if you look inside here, you'll see a 1, 2, 3 neutral and L, and then you'll see a couple of grounds. All right, 1, 2, and 3 are for this cable, and one of the grounds is for this cable too. The other two are the connections that go to the power breaker. Okay, so this cover plate has a hole in it to run your cable through, and also there's a strain relief right there. So the first thing to do, a lot of people don't do this. You really need to use the strain relief. The whole point of that is to protect your cable. So let's remove the screw. And by the way, my owner's manual did not mention the strain relief. I just saw it when I opened this panel up. All right. So it's going to go on just like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that strain relief apart, tuck my cable inside of it, and that's difficult to do. There we go. All right. So I think instead of the black cable going through, I think the wires are just supposed to go through there. Okay, so let's put the ground on. Put that on just like that. Put the screw in. All right, those are in good. Okay, so the signal cables are in place. The next thing to do is to run electricity from this box along the wall all the way over to the unit. If you don't know how to do this, you've never done it before, don't attempt it, hire an electrician. You notice I'm wearing gloves. I'm going to turn off the breaker going to this box. Then I'm going to check it with my multimeter, and I'm not going to touch it unless I'm sure there's no power going to this box. Okay, now that the mini split is installed and working, I'm going to mount the flexible cable on the side of the house with these small brackets. So you start by selecting a mounting spot. So I want my cable to be about a foot above the ground. So pick a spot, put your bracket in place, and I'm going to drill into the mortar in between the bricks. So I'll make a pilot hole with this mortar bit. All right. Take that down, then drill a hole. So it's about that deep. Let's go a little bit deeper. All right, so it's that deep. Here's the inserts that go in the hole, so they're about the same depth. So now I'm going to take the mortar bit off. I'm going to change bits because my mortar bit's only about 1/4 of an inch in diameter. Put another bit on. Widen the hole a little bit. Test my insert. I need to widen my hole a little bit more. Tap the insert in flush, just like that. Put the bracket on, put the screw in, get it started. Change bits on the drill to the screw bit. There you go, real simple. Now let's do the rest. Okay, I got the gutter pipe mounted on the side of the wall. I got 3 brackets holding it tight against the wall, so it does a really good job of hiding the copper lines that come to the outside unit from the inside unit. I've got to come back and put lag bolts in these 2 blocks, or I may actually replace these blocks with a slab. I haven't really decided yet. They do a great job for now. The air conditioning lines, I have some excess lines there, so I'm going to get my AC guy to come back and cut off those lines, and we're going to actually shorten the electrical cable that goes to the unit also. You can see it wrapped up with the lines. So it's going to take him 2 or 3 weeks to get to that because all the AC people are really busy now. It's early summer. I've got my flexible conduit mounted on the wall. I need to come back and clean that up a little bit, but I'm going to wait until later when it's cooler. Anyhow, last thoughts. If you decide to put one of these in, I really recommend you hire someone to do it. There's a lot of moving parts to this. You have to drill a hole in your house. You got to wire up electricity. You got to connect your air conditioning lines. You have to pull a vacuum. If you don't have a vacuum pump, that's going to be 150 bucks. It's real easy to screw this up. So just, if you're not accustomed to doing this type stuff, go hire someone to do it. You'll be a lot better off. Anyhow, that's it. Thanks a lot for watching.